No, you're okay. There was a little notification on your window that said network is struggling. What are you doing to that poor network,
Yeah.
Tim?
Yeah, great. I have no idea. It is definitely, you know what it is? It's all Chris's damn lights are just taking all the juice from Verizon. I can't get on my network. It's because of Chris's house.
Good job, Chris. You ruined
And
the
everybody in
internet.
Mission accomplished.
Welcome to the Geeky A Go-Go podcast, a weekly podcast where we talk about news, movies, TV shows, comic books, cosplay. If it has something to do with what's going on in the world of pop culture, we'll talk about it here. My name is Anthony Pizzuto. Let's get this party started. Joining me today in the Go-Go. Oh, Toots, did you send me anything to say? Oh man,
I thought we were going back and forth. Like I was gonna do it one week.
No, your one job, Toots, was to come up with funny things to introduce people. All right, you know what?
Missed the memo on that one this week.
Let me carry the load today, okay? All right, here we go. Joining me today in the Go-Go, the man with the goofiest and ugliest Christmas sweaters, Mr. Eric Ho, Mr. Chris Nitro in his magnificent beard, and Toots, the man in black, Boylan. What's going on, boys? Chris, what is happening in your neighborhood? Drama, I hear.
tons of drama. Only Eric found it. I didn't find it. Okay, he's the one that pointed it out, and I just perpetuated it. So my town, we've talked about this in the previous episode. My town has a what do you call it? They call it the Battle of the Bulbs, and so it's a contest for which house has the best Christmas or holiday setup in terms of lighting and whatnot, the extravaganza outside of their house, and contest is open until mid-month. However, this is where the drama comes in. The organization that's holding it decided to release a map of the entrance before the nomination period closed.
Scandal.
So that's where I call bull. And I left a little note in a couple of the social media pages, #rigged. And that's it. I drop it there because I don't really care.
Now, I feel like this is like Dateline, and we've just exposed a travesty in the borough of a small borough in New Jersey that is rigged and criminal organizations running the Christmas decoration contest. And I mean, the fact that they call it the Battle of the Bulbs, clearly someone was obsessed with WrestleMania back in the early 90s. Do you think he has like one of those Stretch Armstrong Undertakers or something like that? Every year as he's planning the map, he's like, "Oh, that Chris Nitro, he's never going to get on my map." Well, I'm sorry that you're dealing with this. It truly is a travesty. Folks, if you're listening to this, go protest these organizations. We'll leave links to them in the show notes, probably. I don't know. Eric, you in that ugly Christmas sweater. Eric is wearing a blasphemous Christmas sweater. And we're going to talk about movies in a little bit, but blasphemous Christmas sweater. Eric, describe to our fine folks who are visually not watching this, what are you wearing?
Well, this is a vintage sweater that they handed out to attendees at the Nakatomi Plaza Christmas party. And so I got one of those. And I bring this out every Christmas.
It's vintage, you say. So you went to a store in the East Village and saw this and spent $150 on a 40-year-old piece of clothing?
That's right.
That kind of vintage,
That's right. I had to really go deep into the really niche retailer that is Amazon.com to find this sweater.
Amazon vintage. I think that's the section of Amazon where you can get it for a better price for used.
Which, by the way,
it's in the clearance rack of Whole Foods.
Speaking of just fun hipster stores, my wife and I were shopping this last year, and she had on like a really cool looking, bohemian looking jacket. And we went to some store and it's got run by these kind of hipsters. And this guy was like, "Oh my god, I can't like that thing looks so good. Where did you get it?" And my wife was like, Urban Outfitter." And you can see the guy's face just drop in real time. And then he just went, "Ah, cool. It looks good." And he just walked away. Anyway,
You, the fabric of that hipster's world was suddenly torn asunder. Things you never say to a hipster. I got it at Urban Outfitters.
yeah,
All right.
the guy
So
was
that's a lesson to us all.
That's right. That's right. Oh, and by the way, what I did this week, I went to Chris's house to look at his holiday light display that he just talked about. It was very, very, very impressive. It's got a
Do you two believe this is rigged?
This is rigged. I mean, the dude has a radio station you can dial into when you go check out his Christmas lights. So it's intense.
Thank you.
Chris, we're gonna have to have some photos of your house all lit up. We'll blur out the address, of course, because we don't want our fan to come and and do weird things driving by your house. But we need to show the world what your house looks like at Christmas time.
For all the listeners, just Google Clark Griswold's home, and then he stole his ideas from me. And there you go.
All right, Toots. We had a lot riding on you right now.
Oh,
what's going on in the world of Toots?
Hey, this has been the first week back to the real world post Disney trip, and it's been very traumatic for my children.
Really?
Well, not traumatic, but they're suffering from significant withdrawal,
Okay.
Disney withdrawal.
So how do you ease them back into civilian life after a week at Disney? Like, do you decorate the house? Do you get out some play mats and let them jump and tumble and things like that to ease back in, but still have an excessive amount of energy to release? How do you do that? How do you navigate that?
So we let them get some type of stuffed animal, kind of a comfort toy or something to kind of remember the trip with. So that kind of helps a little bit. They do watch a lot of Disney movies when they come back. So
all right.
It is a little bit of a struggle.
Did you get yourself something to comfort you?
Yeah, no, I bought those the busts from Galaxy's Edge, the Yoda bust and the Vader bust.
Nice.
Busting out the busts. All right. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. We leave pictures of you and your busts on our page as well, so people can visually enjoy it. Well, it's good to have you back, Tim. One day we'll get your technology figured out, and we'll be able to see your beautiful face. I had a good week. We had our first date night last night in 6 months, which was great. It's amazing how challenging it is to find a babysitter. But we finally found one, and she's great. And we went to a movie, and the thing that stinks about date nights after an actor's strike, where every movie has been pushed out to 2024 and 2025, is that there's not a lot going on in the theaters. There are no plays that we could get to. So we ended up going to see this movie called Eileen. Are you guys familiar with that? Have you seen a trailer or anything? It stars Anne Hathaway and Thomasin McKenzie, and it's kind of vintagey. It takes place in 1960s Massachusetts, and Thomasin McKenzie she works for a prison, and Anne Hathaway comes in, and she's the beautiful psychologist that Thomasin McKenzie kind of gravitates towards, and there's some kind of weird relationship forming there, and then all of a sudden something big happens, and it turns into this. It goes from dark comedy to suspense to thriller to what the heck just happened. And the trailer, you watch the trailer and you're like, this movie is going to be a woof. But I was actually pleasantly surprised with how it came out. So yeah, we had a very successful first date night in a while. Yeah, so that's what's going on with us. Wrapping up the year at work, which is also exciting. And trying to get back to some projects that are on my bench for the YouTube channel. So hopefully more to come next time we talk on what those are. So yeah, so a lot going on. Well, thanks for sharing your week, gang. Hey, Chris, do you have your watch on?
I do.
And do you happen to know what time it is?
It's Watcha Watchin time. So Watcha Watchin is our little segment here where we go around the room and we ask everybody what they're watching on the YouTubes, on any kind of streaming services, or if they decide to say, you know what, I'm reading this week. I'm not actually watching anything. So we go around the room and ask everybody what you're watching. So we'll start off with let's go with Tim.
So I've been watching this guy on YouTube. It's called My Mechanics. And what this guy does, he does a lot of restoration. It's pretty interesting. It's kind of mindless watching, if you will. You can just put it on for half an hour, 45 minutes. But he does a really good job restoring tons of stuff. He's restoring a vintage Nissan Z350, I think right now is what it is. It's a car. It's a vintage car. It's from the 70s. And he took the whole thing apart. He's restoring it piece by piece. And if he can't find a part, he makes it, which I think is pretty cool. And it definitely appeals to my prop making side. Hopefully most of the listeners are prop makers, or at least have some kind of interest in props. But I just find it very interesting. And again, like I said, it's mindless television, so you can put it on with dinner.
So has this inspired you at all to possibly restore a car or purchase a fixer-upper and to kind of start taking apart and fixing and making it something that you'd like it to be?
I don't think it's inspired me to restore a car. I do have a motorcycle for listeners, and it has inspired me to do more work on that myself.
Got it. That's the beauty of YouTube, right? It's a constant source of it's a constant rabbit hole of inspiration. So awesome. Good
Nice.
reco.
Let's keep it moving on to Eric.
I don't actually think I watched anything good this week. I think it's just a lot of it's like anything said, we're wrapping up at work, so I've been kind of busy just wrapping things up at work. So nothing crazy. If I think of anything, I'll jump back in.
Nice. All right, I'll take over then. That doesn't necessarily have to be good if you watched it. And a case in point, I'll summarize my review of Obliterated. Do not recommend.
Ooh.
I'll give it a broken disco ball, just half a broken disco ball. That's what I'll give it as a rating.
Wow.
It served its purpose. There's a lot of explosion or violence and shoot 'em up and we got to defuse the bomb situations and a lot of that going on. But other than that, it's very mindless. Watch. I couldn't get through a single episode in one sitting. I'd have to stop and I probably should have just stopped watching it altogether, but I'm one of those completionists where like I started this, I need to get it done and out of the way and move on to the next thing. So I don't recommend Obliterated. I did move on to what was it called? Invincible on Amazon Prime. So it's in the second season. I don't know if it's continuing or not. It was 4 episodes. The second season is 4 episodes, and I think I'm on episode 2. First episode was very confusing to me. And I had to go back and watch the last episode of season 1. And then when I rewatched the first episode of season 2, I was like, oh, okay. It was actually an alternate universe. And so I was like, where, like, I just didn't catch that. It wasn't very obvious that they were in an alternate universe. But yeah, I'm in the middle of that, episode 2. I like it. A lot of A-list actors doing the voiceovers and whatnot, if not B-list, but definitely really, really good acting. Animation is not so great, but again, the voiceover work is fantastic. So I enjoy it. I'd like the first season. I recommend that. I'll give it a disco ball and a half. And again, not having finished season 2, but I did like for season 1, so I'll stick with that rating.
Nice.
Yeah, Chris. I think they split up second season into 2 parts, and you're gonna get the other episodes in I don't know, probably sometimes in 2024. But I agree with you. I finished watching it, but I remember when I watched this first episode, I had to go back again to the last episode to try to see. I forgot. It's been a while. That's why I appreciate some of these shows that do the whole it's been a while since you watched the show. Here's a quick recap of what you need to watch. They didn't have that, I don't
Yep.
think. And so, yeah, that could have helped.
But I definitely agree with Eric on that. I did think the short season might have had to do with the writer's strike or something to that effect. They said, we had a few episodes we'll just put out there, which is a bold move if you think about it. Because if the writers decide, hey, we're going to change up the script in the second half of the season, first half of the season is already aired, so it's like they kind of have to stick to the whatever they wanted to do. So I mean, I guess that's how the industry works. Good on them. I'm glad they're writing again. Maybe that's why it happened, but maybe it was an executive decision that they were going to do this anyway. Kind of keep it fresh. And then I don't want to say we're wrapping up because we may go back to Eric, but let's head over to Anthony to see what he was watching this week.
Sure. So what was I watching? I'm actually reading. I decided to go read. So maybe this is the What You Doing episode. But so a few years ago, I downloaded the Audible version of Star Wars Aftermath by Chuck Wendig. And I despised it. I thought it was just as bad, if not worse, than the prequels, just in terms of like the voice acting side of it. And there was obviously, because the prequels are canon, there's a lot of references to canon, even though this takes place right after the fall of the Empire, or the explosion of the Death Star 2 over Endor. But there were just like some creative decisions that they made in this book that I just annoyed me. So I just could not listen to it anymore. So I shelved it. And recently I got my library card and decided to download the book version of it. And I've started reading it. And so far, so good. I'm probably 10% of the way in right now. And it's a good read. I like it because it's canon. And it's the journey to Force Awakens. So there's three of them. I forget the all three of them, but Aftermath is the start. And so it's kind of nice to help fill in the timeline. I'm curious as I go further and further to see if, and I don't know if you guys have read this, if they've pulled in the elements from Aftermath into, say, Ahsoka or into Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett or anything like that, because they're all happening at the same time. It's post Return of the Jedi. So I'm very curious to see if anything like that happens. But yeah, so far so good. So Eric, did anything inspire you or
Oh, I know. I remember what I did. I mean, nothing crazy, but I did watch the Grand Theft Auto release trailer for the new game that's coming out.
Whoa.
And I think they had some ridiculous, like, I think the video was leaked and there was some ridiculous speed at which like people got excited and the view counts just kind of piled up. So I'm excited. I have played Grand Theft Auto for a long, long time. And I think along with the rest of the interwebs, we are waiting for the new ones to come out. I'm just very excited to see what the new storyline is.
So is this officially GTA 6?
That's right.
Wow. Okay. I tried Grand Theft Auto 5 and just really couldn't get into it. It was way too expansive. And I think the fact that I constantly got shot up by like 10-year-olds was a real big bruise to my ego. And I have a big ego. And so I couldn't take it anymore. So I gave up on it.
Understand.
All right. Good picks. Right. All right. Thanks, gents. Willie, excuse me. All right. Thanks, gents. And folks listening, we'll leave links to the trailers and all that stuff that we're watching or reading in the show notes. So make sure you check those out. All right. Let's dive into the news. Well, big news. Last week, the SAG-AFTRA contract, commercial and theatrical contract, was ratified by the membership. There was a 78% vote in the affirmative to accept the new contract, which is really great. It's actually an improvement of the 2020 contract, which was ratified at a 74% approval. And then the 2017 contract was ratified at a 76 approval rating. So it seems to be a theme to be in the mid 70s with all of these approval ratings. You're always going to have people who are just not going to be in favor for what the negotiating committee had negotiated. What I did find was interesting was only 40% of the 160,000 members actually voted. And I couldn't find any numbers, although I'm pretty sure they're published somewhere, as to how many people or what percentage of people actually vote typically in these negotiated voted for these ratified contracts. So that was really interesting. But guys, what do you think? We had a few episodes back where we talked about the actors strike, the concerns about AI and things like that. Chris, you're deeply involved with your union. Is a 78% approval on a contract a good thing? Is 40% participation in the vote a good thing or a bad thing? What do you think?
I mean, I think the 78%, whatever number you said, is a very good, number threshold for passing a contract. You 3/4 of your membership, more than 3/4 of your membership that voted are in favor of the contract. I find it a little disheartening that 38, less than 40% of the membership actually bothered to vote. Could you fill this in? Was it a paper ballot? Did something had to mail in? Was it an online thing?
It was an online thing. I don't believe there was a paper version of it. We all, as far as I know, got postcards reminding us to log in and vote. So,
okay, so there was a paper notification. It was convenient to vote. Let's put it that way.
yes.
And so that, to me, that turnout is very low. Surprisingly low, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I didn't see anything about questions unanswered, or any of that, like clarifications that we talked about in our previous episode. So it's interesting that as much media attention that it got, only less than 40% of the membership decided to actually go and vote. A little disheartening for the proud labor movement.
Mm-hmm. And Chris, with your union, how big is your union?
We're about 15,000 members.
15,000. And in regards to, do you all negotiate contracts and go through a ratification process similar to SAG-AFTRA? Okay.
We do not. In our sector, I think, I found that very interesting. In our sector, the leadership actually goes and negotiates the contract. And for us to say, okay, now we're taking a pause and we're taking this back to the membership just to vote on, I think that's negotiating in bad faith in terms of the negotiators. So it's interesting that it was done that way for SAG, but I guess maybe that's how it's done in private industry. So I couldn't say anything either way for that stuff. Yeah, I mean,
makes sense. And then a question for the three of you. So you all have kind of official positions in the 501st Legion. For those of you who don't know, the 501st Legion is a international costuming organization dedicated to kind of bringing Star Wars to life through costuming and generating excitement at charitable events and raising funds for nonprofit organizations. It's about, 10,000 members, 15,000 members, something like that? No? 10, yeah, somewhere in between. Having had official positions in this organization, and this group votes on a lot of things. I mean, we have elections every year, I believe. What's the take rate of that? Like, do we get 80% participation in these elections? Do we get 50%? And I think where I'm going is, when it comes to member organizations, labor or otherwise, what is the propensity of engagement with the membership? Is it endemic, meaning you're always only going to have 50% of people in your organization vote, or 60% of people vote? Or is it worse for SAG? So I don't know. So that's my nerdy brain kind of overthinking things.
I mean, it's rhetorical questions, but like going just as an example, something that was recent history, like the Amazon unionizing, the Amazon warehouse workers unionizing, like those votes to form the union, it was like, very high number in terms of participation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you have the people that are like, oh, we're voting to actually form a union. A high percentage of the membership actually turns up to vote for or against becoming a union. So that's why I was like, well, I don't, it's industry specific.
Yeah.
Maybe well-established unions. Are you affiliated with AFL-CIO or any other kind of organization like that? I don't know.
Got it. Boys, any other thoughts? All right. Well, what else is in the news?
I mean, we just.
Oh.
I was just going to say, so we just ran a survey on the 501st side and for the Northeast Remnant. And again, for the listeners who don't know, Northeast Remnant is the New Jersey chapter for the 501st. But we ran a survey, and I think we have a little over 120 members. We had a little bit less than 50% participation in the survey. So for numbers and the math aficionados, I think that's probably, if you get half of people to respond to things like that, I feel like that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, for something that impacts your job, maybe you'd want a little bit more response.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And I'm just curious also what the makeup is of the active membership. There's 160,000 members in SAG, but how many people actually, so we know, I think it's 12% actually earn enough every year to participate in the health and retirement program. So that's not a huge number, clearly. But how many are active, working weekly? How many are retired? Are they flagged as active members? So anyway, enough on SAG. But also going on in Hollywood, Godzilla Minus One, something we talked about last week. It has exceeded expectations domestically being here in the United States, by a lot, and it has achieved about 51 million plus globally. It's also being praised by critics and fans alike. It has a 97% fresh score on Rotten Tomatoes. So great news. What do you all think this means for the MonsterVerse across the pond? We talked about this last time, but the MonsterVerse in the US is not the same as the non-MonsterVerse in Asia or Japan. So what do you guys think? Is this good news? Are we going to see more from Toho and our friends behind the production of Godzilla Minus One?
I still would stick to that. I don't think the MonsterVerse translates very well overseas. Minus One was definitely a different type of, I shouldn't say different, a classic type of monster film. So something that I enjoyed very much, as we talked about. I was very happy to see that they were extending runs in movie theaters and whatnot because of the appreciation of what's going on. I highly recommended it to many of my coworkers and whatnot. So hopefully they all go out and get to see it in the theater as well.
Nice. So no hope of seeing a King Kong in a Toho version of Godzilla Plus One. No. Okay.
I find that a lot of these Godzilla, especially from Japan, are not supposed to be sequential anyway. I think that every few years, a new director shows up with their interpretation of what Godzilla is and then what kind of story they might want to tell. And I'm just looking at Wikipedia here because I knew it's in their 30s. I think this is for Toho the 33rd Godzilla that they've pumped out since the early days, right? And then they keep track of the American ones in a whole different section. So anyway, I think we're definitely going to see more. I think it's a really great sign. I think that it's awesome to see the American audience embracing a foreign language live action film. Like, let's not forget, this is a subtitled movie, which I don't think historically performs really well here in the United States. And so I think that's awesome.
All right, let's jump into this week's topic, our favorite holiday movies. When we think of the holidays, we not only think of twinkling lights, time with friends, and the scandal that's happening in Chris's neighborhood. We also think about presents. But most importantly, the nostalgia of holiday movies is on our mind. From Miracle on 34th Street to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Christmas Vacation to Silent Night, Deadly Night, this time of year has something for everyone, and we all have our go-to, so we wanted to share our favorites with you, our awesome listeners. And I'll go first, since I kicked us off, but my favorite, and this was a tough one because there's a lot of good holiday movies out there. And the brief, for all those of you listening, we had to pick two just in case because we didn't want to overlap with each other. So hopefully I haven't stolen somebody's. But one of my favorite holiday movies is Scrooged. Bill Murray, Karen Allen, John Forsythe. Scrooged is the modern day, and by modern, that was, I think, 1990 something, modern day retelling of A Christmas Carol. Bill Murray plays a high-powered network executive producing a television special of A Christmas Carol. And over the course of the hour-and-a-half movie, he is visited by the ghost of Christmas past, Christmas present, and obviously Christmas future. And you all know the story. Scrooge has a whole new worldview by the end of the film. But it's just a lot of fun to see a modern-day retelling of this story. It was directed by Richard Donner. Oh, and it came out in 1987, so it wasn't even in the 90s. But a great film. Highly recommend it. It's streaming. It must be streaming somewhere, and we'll leave a link to where it's streaming in the show notes. But have you guys seen Scrooged? What do you think?
I'll jump in there. We had I did see Scrooged. I thought I actually saw it in the movie theater when I was a kid. I could be completely wrong on that. I did, from what I remember, I did enjoy it in that Bill Murray-esque telling of stories and whatnot. So I definitely chalk it up there in the annals of great Christmas movies. Not my top, but definitely agree that it's a good film.
One of the highlights of the film for me is seeing David Johansen from the New York Dolls as a New York City cab driver. He was the ghost of Christmas past, taking Bill Murray on a tour of New York, starting in the 50s and to hand him off to Carol Kane, who was the ghost of Christmas present. But it's a great cast, great story, great modern retelling. I hope they never try to remake it. Although, did they actually remake it? No, they didn't make it. No, okay. Some things should be sacred, and that should be one of them. All right, Mr. Christmas himself. What, Chris Nitro? What's your holiday film of choice?
Top of the list, just because the entire family loves it, and so do I, is Elf.
Ah, yes.
Will Ferrell classic. Being a New Yorker and seeing all the silliness that's happened throughout the city, and just Buddy the elf being silly himself. I love it. It's great film. Top of my list.
Favorite scene?
I think I mean, you can't really have one favorite scene. I think one of my favorites is when he first meets his dad, and he's sitting in the office and he's like trying to find things to keep himself occupied, and then later on in the house when he's like making food and like spaghetti with syrup, and goes up to his dad and like says things like, "I like to whisper," and things like that, like just. Or telling the story about how he goes through the candy cane forest and then walks through the Lincoln Tunnel. I was like, this is amazing. This is fantastic.
And that had a great cast as well. You have Will Ferrell, James Caan, Bob Newhart, Ed Asner, Mary Steenburgen, Peter Dinklage, Amy Sedaris. I forgot that she was in that. Artie Lang, Zooey Deschanel, of course. Yeah, no, it's a great cast, great movie. Okay, Eric, have you seen Elf?
Yes, my sister is obsessed with
Okay.
Elf, so it's an ongoing
Nice.
thing every time she shows up.
Tim, do you dress up as Buddy the Elf on Christmas Day when you hand out presents? I can kind of picture this, so please don't let me down.
No.
Damn. All right, but you've seen it. You've seen it.
I have. I could dress up for you if you want.
Oh. Here we go, taking the show in a whole new direction again.
Tim in yellow tights.
Tim
Not
in
a good
yellow
look for
tights.
you.
Timmy the Elf. I like this. I like to whisper. Well, okay, so Tim, what is your favorite holiday film?
So I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction. So my film is set during Christmas time, but it is not necessarily a holiday film, I guess. I don't know. Maybe people would argue that it is or it isn't. I love Batman Returns.
Oh, okay. Yep. It is.
I was always
do your thing.
Oh, I had loved Batman when I was a kid, and it came out, I think, in June of '92. So I was in second grade, but I just love Batman, and it's set during Christmas. So I'm going to qualify it as a Christmas movie. I don't care what people say.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think there's probably a whole subreddit on Batman Returns being a Christmas film. Who was your favorite villain in Batman Returns? Because we had a couple.
Well, yeah, we did. We had Danny DeVito. He was the Penguin. We had Max Schreck, who was played by Christopher Walken, I believe. And then Catwoman, who was Michelle Pfeiffer.
And
I got to go with Michelle.
Michelle.
I got to go with Michelle Pfeiffer because she looked great back then, and she looks amazing today. So
She did, and she does. I remember the toys from that film, and I think the Penguin. I believe the Penguin actually came with the penguins with the rockets on the back as part of his packaging, and I had those and I loved them very much. No, I agree. If people are going to claim that a particular Bruce Willis film is a holiday film, then by golly, you can claim that Batman Returns is a holiday film, Christmas film.
exactly. And I will also say, too, that Christmas, I believe I got probably one of my most favorite toys. I got the Batmobile. And then that movie, the Batmobile kind of splits apart and it goes down the alley. And the toy did the same thing. And when I got that, I thought, man, this is the coolest thing ever. So Batman Returns, best Christmas movie.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Is Batman Returns? No, I'm thinking of the regular Batman, where the guy who played Jack Porkins plays the corrupt detective on the Gotham. Was that Returns or the original Batman?
Original
The
Batman.
original Batman. Okay, got it. Yeah. All right, so it's not a fun fact. All right. And you gentlemen, do you agree that Batman Returns can be qualified as a holiday film? Tim achieved the brief here. Okay. All right. Well, Eric, you're going to take us home. What is your favorite holiday film?
Die Hard, baby. I mean, come on. It's literally set during a Christmas party. It's a holiday movie. There are 2 required viewings of Christmas movies in this household. Every December, we watch Die Hard and Love Actually. Those are the 2 holiday films that is a must watch every December.
All right. Favorite scene in Die Hard?
I don't know why it sticks out in my head, but I think this is the turning point in the movie. I mean, there's a lot of just great action sequences in the movie, but I like when the cops first come on checking to make sure what's going on in the building, and nobody believed him. And he's like, "Oh my god, this is a Christmas Eve. I just want to go home." And then, boom, dead body. And so this is one of those things that goes, "Oh, this movie is turning around." And that to me, I mean, there's just so many classy ones, but for some reason, that moment sticks. It's not a special moment, but it sticks out in my head as like a, yeah, this is gonna get good, and it got real good afterward.
Well, nothing says Christmas party like a dead body. So, and Tim and Chris, you concur that Eric's choice is that of a Christmas holiday film.
I would say
It's not
yes.
Christmas until
If we're letting Tim pick Batman just because it was set during the holidays, we have to allow Eric, and Eric's film is a lot more Christmassy than Batman.
There's a Christmas tree in Batman. They exchange gifts. There's holiday.
Wait, what time of year did the Batman with George Clooney and Arnold, and was that set
Forever? Batman
yeah,
Forever?
but was that set during a holiday time? I remember there was some sort of charity event or something in the movie.
I think it was just because Mr. Freeze was in it. We felt like
Yeah, okay, maybe that's
cold.
why.
That's the Batman and Robin film. I don't see anything.
I forget which one was Batman Forever and Batman Robin. Which sequence they were in?
Batman
Forever was the
Forever, I
last
believe, had Val Kilmer. and Batman and Robin was
George Clooney.
who was the other guy? Yeah, George Clooney. And who was the Chris? Who was the other guy? Chris. He was Robin was in both of them though, but it was the same Robin.
Okay,
Chris
so
O'Donnell.
according to Den
Yeah,
of
Chris
Geek,
O'Donnell.
according to Den of Geek, for Batman and Robin, this is 17 movies secretly about Christmas you need to watch. Batman and Robin, while not officially set during Christmas, Batman and Robin is the coolest time you could possibly have during any season. When Bruce's butler won't move his butt out of bed to make breakfast anymore, Master Wayne grants him a holiday miracle by not throwing the bum to the curb. I don't even know what that has to do with Christmas. Okay. And then Batman Returns, according to The Nerdist. Even though the film's plot and themes have nothing to do with the holiday, the film is so specifically set during Christmas that watching it in December does enhance the experience. So, all right. If The Nerdist says it's true, it must be true. Okay, so now I'm curious, and I know we're running a little bit long on time, but when we edit out all the fluff, we'll get back on it. You had to pick 2 or 3, whatever. So Chris, what was your second choice?
A Christmas Story.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
I
man.
hate that movie.
You shoot your eye out, kid. Come on, that's classic.
Oh, yeah. No, I know it's classic. I've
All
just I don't think I've ever actually watched that movie in its entirety. I have zero interest in it.
The leg lamp. I have the little leg lamps here in the house. Like it's the seminal growing up in the Midwest Christmas story.
Fair.
It's literally titled The Christmas Story.
And let's just point of clarity here. You said I have the leg lamps, so that means you have multiple leg lamps.
It's string lights. So it's little string
Oh,
lights.
okay.
All over it.
I didn't know if like every room had a 36-inch tall leg.
No.
Okay, got it.
I've yet to convince my wife to let me buy one big leg lamp.
Well, we have 3D printers, Chris. We could probably help you out and do it for free.
No, I wanted to come in a big crate, that says Fragile on it and everything.
Tim, what was
It could be better to beg. It could have been better to beg for forgiveness than ask permission, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Because by that time, it's already there. It's open. It's there. What's she gonna do?
Buy once, cry once. There you go.
Right.
All right, Tim, what was your second choice?
I'm going to keep with Tim Burton. I'm going to say The Nightmare Before Christmas because my kids love it. And when we go to Disney, they love meeting Jack and Sally.
Awesome. Oh, they have a real Jack and Sally there?
Tim,
They do.
you have to go to Disneyland because they change the Haunted Mansion into the Nightmare Before Christmas Mansion.
Ooh.
You have to. If the kids love it, you got to go to Disneyland.
That's cool.
All right, Eric, what was your second choice?
Well, I already pointed out the 2 mandatory viewings in this house, and the second choice, obviously, Love Actually, also very obviously set during the Christmas season.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I thoroughly enjoy Love Actually, and it's funny. I was having breakfast with our neighbors this morning, and we brought up Love Actually. And did you know that there's like this whole group of people who are just abhorred, that have absolutely abhorred Love Actually and its portrayal of women, its portrayal of themes, and I'm like, and then I found an article about like how awful the film is in today's perspective, and I was like, but it just got re-released, and now there's a 4K version of it coming out, and I still like the movie. Does that make me a bad person? But you know what? I still like the movie. I don't care what the haters say. I like the movie. I think it's a great movie.
I think, yes, if you were to watch the movie today and applying everything we know about the world today, there are some parts of the movie that were kind of questionable. That said, I mean, this is why I like to treat. This is the whole thing where we people wonder if we should go back and re-edit old arts and creations, right? And by the shaking of the head on this call here, I think most of us agree that don't go ahead and change that. Maybe add the disclaimer to it, right? Telling them that this is a depiction of the time, but it is what it is. Like, enjoy the work that's been created. I don't get people who like to go back and litigate these kind of old movies. please just let me enjoy this movie as it is. Thank you.
Yep. Here. Agreed. And then my, I'm surprised we didn't have much overlap, but mine was Home Alone. Love Actually was my third, but Home Alone, I feel like is a not seminal, but like it's an annual watch. It's a great story. It's family friendly. It ages, I think, perfectly. It's touching. It's funny. And I think also now that we have kids, I can relate to Catherine O'Hara's anxieties a little bit more than I did in my 20s or even my teens when I first saw the movie. So yeah, great holiday movie. We'll leave links to all of these trailers in the show notes so you can watch them. And if you have a particular favorite holiday film, well, let us know. Shoot us a DM or leave us a comment on our Instagram post or on the a comment on the page on Geeky Go Go that you're listening to this. All right. So before we wrap up, what are y'all looking forward to this week? Eric, let's start with you.
Next week is my last week in office before I wrap up for the year. So very much looking forward to wrapping that up and getting the holiday season really officially underway.
That's awesome. So you're taking 2 weeks off for the balance of the year?
Yeah, something like that.
Wow. Oh, I'm so jealous. I would love a 2-week vacation. Well, good for you. You enjoy the heck out of that. Tim, what about you? What are you looking forward to this week?
Well, Hanukkah started on Thursday night, technically. So my wife is Jewish, so it's going to be eight crazy nights. So that's kind of looking forward to that.
Very nice.
Gifts with the kids and celebrating.
Well, happy Hanukkah to you and the family. Nitro, what about you? What are you looking forward to besides destroying the corrupt organization that is taking down your neighborhood?
Again, I don't care who wins. I wish them all the best. I don't like the process, and I like to call out the bull when I see it. Me personally, I want to get, you guys can see the tarps are down. I want to get my my built-in project here done by the end of the week, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I doubt it, but because contractors, but hopefully it gets done. And then this will be my fabulous workbench right behind me right here.
Awesome. Very exciting. That is a wonderful Christmas present for the Nitro family. All right. Well, that's all we have this week. Make sure you follow us everywhere at Geeky A Go Go. Big shout out, as always, to my partners in crime, Chris, Eric, and Tim, for your geeky brains and your perspective on the holiday season films that we know and love. And thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe or follow the podcast on your favorite platform. And until next time, you stay geeky, Internet.
Bye.